The toilet, a place where everybody is the same, young or old, poor or rich, it doesn't really matter, because here our humanity erases all the barriers. Originally named komorebi, this wonderful Japanese expression, which literally means light filtering through the leaves of trees, the film explores life's delicate contrast, such as joy and sadness, shadow and light, dream and reality. Through the quiet and peaceful life of Hirayama, Wenders invites us to reflect on the poetry of the everyday life. In this video, I will briefly introduce the plot of the movie, mention some enigmatic scenes with a possible interpretation, offer a philosophical perspective on this movie, and at the very end, reveal an interesting fact about the origins of this movie. I will divide this video into separate sections, and if you want, you can directly skip to the part that you are the most interested about. But of course you shouldn't do it, because it's all very interesting. Hello everyone, I'm Ivan, and I'm an Italian philosophy PhD student living in Germany, and this is Empyreon, the Academy of Philosophy and Fine Arts. The movie Perfect Days was released this year, in 2024, and is the latest work by Wim Wenders. For those unfamiliar, Wim Wenders is a highly acclaimed German director who is very famous for his masterpieces such as Wings of Desire or Paris, Texas. He has also collaborated with prominent contemporary artists by making documentaries about their lives and their works. Artists such as painter Anselm Kiefer or the choreographer-dancer Pina Bausch. I'll link the foundation of these two important artists in the description. So what is Perfect Days about? The story is actually very minimal. Nothing extraordinary happens during the whole movie. The story is set in Japan, where the main character Hirayama, a middle-aged man, works as a cleaner of public toilets. As viewers, we follow about 2-3 weeks of his daily life. Through these days, we get closer to him and get to know some of his passions, such as photography, music, reading, or taking care of plants. Now you might think that the story doesn't present itself as something very interesting. However, it is precisely because nothing extraordinary and nothing interesting happens that we as audience are never distracted. This allows us to pay attention to the very little details of the movie that in appearance are insignificant, but at the very end are very important. And Wim Wenders, with his artistic perspective, presents these little details in a wonderful and beautiful way. The protagonist barely speaks throughout the movie, yet by the end of the film, thanks in part to Koji Yakusho's extraordinary performance, you'll come to know him so deeply that it's impossible that you don't love this character, and you will be for sure moved by the latest scene of this movie. In short, it's a truly unique movie, and if you approach it without prejudice about its simplicity, I guarantee you that at the very end you will be wonderfully surprised. This movie is highly artistic, both because of Wim Wenders' unique capacity as a filmmaker and his ability to present a simple yet mysterious story. For this reason, there are some scenes in the movie that are not immediately clear. I'll present two examples of them without giving my own interpretation so that you could try to form your own ideas about these scenes. There is a beautiful scene where Hirayama rides a bicycle with his niece on a sunny day. At one point, they stop on a bridge over a river, and the niece asks if they can go for a swim. Hirayama replies, "Next time." And when the niece asks, "When is it next time?" he responds, "Next time is next time, now is now." The two then happily bike away, repeating this phrase. Another deeply profound scene is the dialogue between Hirayama and the man with cancer. The man asks Hirayama if he thinks shadows become darker when they are overlapped.
影って重ねると濃くなるんですかね?
Hirayama first suggests that they check immediately and then explains that, in his opinion, they must become darker, otherwise nothing would make sense. And it is precisely this last sentence that it is mysterious. But overall, it is wonderful how Hirayama responds to this man in pain by playing a game. By now I can say that I've seen this movie 4 times, 2 times in the cinema and 2 times at home on my own, and I can confidently say that I never got bored by watching it. Quite the opposite, the more I watched this movie, the more I loved it, by finding out new beautiful details. For me, the central message of this movie was clear since the very beginning, and I maintained this perspective throughout all the times I watched it. I believe that the main point of this movie is joy and gratitude for a simple life. However, I know that many people who watched this movie felt quite the opposite. Loneliness and sadness. I can't blame them because there are inside this movie some elements that suggest this perspective. Hirayama's assistant who works with him by cleaning the toilets is a young and exuberant man who, in some ways, acts as the voice of the audience. On several occasions, he asked Hirayama questions along this line. For example, once while they were working, his assistant asked Hirayama if he didn't feel lonely and sad by not having a family at his age. Hirayama's response remains in silence and keeps working. It is indeed the first impression that we get by watching Hirayama's life. If not being lonely simply meant spending time around others and having fun, then we wouldn't see this very deep loneliness and misery pervading our society. The French philosopher Blaise Pascal touches on this point in his important work Thoughts. He writes that our only relief from misery lays in the entertainment, which in French is divertissement. When we entertain ourselves, especially in the company of others, we distract ourselves from our misery and loneliness. Yet, this distraction through the entertainment is a desperate attempt to escape from ourselves and slowly dying in self-oblivion without even realizing it. Here is my response to those who think that Hirayama is a lonely man. On the one hand, people are often lonelier and more miserable in the company of others, as this highlights the inability of others to truly understand us. On the other hand, solitude isn't necessarily negative when it's authentic. It allows us to better understand ourselves and enables us to be with others purely for the joy of it, rather than out of necessity. As for those who think that Hirayama is sad, I'd like to make a couple of points. First, it's always important to step back and avoid cliches when reflecting on emotions. Sadness, contrary to the common perception, isn't essentially negative. It's just another way of perceiving reality. Sometimes it comes suddenly, without any apparent reason, and it transforms itself into a sweet melancholy. In this sense, sadness, just like solitude, shouldn't be always avoided. Instead, if we linger in it for a little moment when it takes hold, we might understand something precious about the world that surrounds us. In conclusion, sadness isn't a negative thing and is part of life. Hirayama's life is sincere, so it's natural that in his life, just like in others, there are moments of sadness. We've seen that Hirayama's job is actually cleaning the toilet. Of course, as far as the movie's message is concerned, Hirayama could have done any other job. However, the fact that he cleans toilets, it's not coincidental. The idea of this movie came from the Tokyo Toilet Project. This collaboration between Wim Wenders and the architects responsible of this project aims to explore and show people that the darkest areas of the city, which are usually around the public toilets, can be turned into something beautiful. Wenders immediately saw the potential of these projects and he said, "Because a toilet is a place where everybody is the same, there is no rich and poor, no old and young, everybody is part of humanity." This is how the idea of the film came out. Below in the description I will mention the link of this project so that you can check out these toilets in Japan, which are truly pieces of art. I'd like to conclude this video with a scene from this movie. In this scene, Hirayama's sister comes to take her daughter back after she ran away to stay with him. From their brief dialogue, we understand that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and that something sad must have happened between Hirayama and his father. At the end of this scene, the sister asks Hirayama, "Do you really clean the toilets?" His response, to me, represents the heart of this movie. The answer is of course yes, but the way he answers reveals the very essence of this man. He smiles gently, without a trace of arrogance or pride, and without a hint of shame or regret. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Ivan, and this is the Academy of Philosophy and Fine Arts.